My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. We're down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Night of Ones podcast, episode number 56 or episode 4 of season 2. It's hard to believe we said that already. As a reminder, we are the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst and hoops player, an infamous, yes, that's infamous rapper, our resident influencer and IG star shooting the breeze, talking UCF sports. Remember to like us, follow us on YouTube, IG, X, and make sure you're checking out the 70-plus teams and conferences on the College Huddle. Check us out on the Big 12 Huddle, 4th in Florida. And Josh went live. Are you not entertained? Because I was entertained during that game. There was, we'll talk about the text talk here in a bit, but there was people that were ready to jump off the roofs in Night Nation. And then it turned around for a big win with the reverse Baylor of TCU. So super exciting last week. We'll talk a lot about that exciting win, how we felt about it, how it got there. We'll talk about our week 3 score predictions to see who was closest to the pen. Trey, I don't think is going to yell at the cloud. He was actually there at the game, so we'll get some feedback from him. We'll talk about how we're going to win against the bye next week. Big 12 score recap. Then we're going to talk a little bit of details about the Big 12. We've got a little listener love coming your way, and then other updates on UCF sports that Alan does not watch. So without further ado, let's bring on the producer, Nobra. Welcome to the stage. Hey now. I think you missed an eyeball there. I don't know what happened.
I don't think you're...
Nobra's confused. He just got off of work to do this with us. Super confused, but welcome back to the show, my friend. Let's go ahead and get that patented hair flip. Thank you, sir. We couldn't do it without you. All right, next up to the stage, the only 7-footer that's currently doing a UCF podcast, Ben Stout. Welcome to the stage.
What's up? What's up? I'm happy that we got that 3-0 feeling.
That
3-0, my God, this week. 3-0, my God.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Next to the stage, someone who has felt that feeling before from the field and is also a former UCF football player, Trey Neal. What's up, Trey?
What's up, guys? What's up? How you guys doing?
Good, man. How was that 3-0 feeling from TCU? I mean, what did they look like? What was that like? Because all I saw on the TV was a bunch of confused people when they thought that there was a 57, 58-yard field goal that was made, and then they were like, "What just happened?"
Yep. It was awesome. It was a crazy environment. Awesome game by our guys. We'll get into it a little bit when we get into the show.
All right. Last but not least, but always last, Josh Lazar.
So, hey, everyone. Due to being scooped today and seeing my vocal cords for the first time, I am borrowless today, saving my voice for the rest of the pod. Now, if I were to spit, I would probably be doing DMX Party Up. And if you really want to just close your eyes and imagine that, like Dino Babers, maybe you could do that in your own car.
Our next UCF head coach, Josh Lazar. People,
I'd love to. Yeah, well, my defensive coordinator would be Trey Neal. That'd be great.
Hey now. So he gets sideline passes for real this time and gets paid.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course, my offensive coordinator would be Scott Frost. That'd be easy.
There we go.
Now, last but not least, but always last, is always Josh Lazar. We waited for Alan Levin because he was going to be a little bit late, but he popped into the show just now. So let's go ahead and bring Alan Levin to the stage. Alan.
Yo, what's up?
There he
Oh
is.
my God, he's coming to us remote. What's up? He's so excited about the TCU
Live
win.
on the
We'll talk
road.
about it. Hey,
What did I miss?
Alan.
What did I miss?
Hey, well, you missed a lot, but we were starting. We haven't done our text talk yet, but before I guess we can get right into text talk. Let's start with that, and I'm going to start with you. I'm going to give you the state. Oh, he left. What happened? He left.
No, he's not. He's right here.
No, he's
I
there.
didn't
Oh, he's
he's
there.
there.
He's just in
In
his
the
car
dark.
in the dark.
Nobra left.
No texting and
all right.
driving.
I was
Nobra
so
I
left.
didn't
confused.
He's off the screen.
Yeah, I was so confused. Okay, so Alan's here, and so my text talk I'm going to start with Alan says I'm going to rant so hard on the next podcast. So Alan, since we know how angry you were for most of that game, this is your opportunity to rant, man. Was there anything that you wanted to say? I mean, the floor is all yours.
Well, I might have to delete some tweets. Is really probably my talk.
I see red lights. Are you getting pulled over or something? What's going on?
No, there's my wife is driving. There's a gate. There we go. It's gone. Okay. No, I mean, look, everything looked bad there for a long time, and then it looked good. So it's football. It's a game of inches, and the way that we pulled that out was absolutely amazing. But we're one field goal miss away from me ranting like crazy. But obviously, I don't know what you guys have talked about so far. What have I missed? Or are we only in the text talk?
Nothing.
portion,
We were waiting on you
We
to
just got
pop
started,
in.
man.
Yeah, we were waiting for you to pop in because you said, "Hey, I'm going to pop in," and then we
I
waited
didn't
20
want to miss
minutes.
this
And
one.
then,
I didn't want to miss this one because this was an epic win. I think this is one of the best comebacks in UCF history. It really reminds me of the Louisville game in 2013 when we came back from also 21 points. So to pull out this win, I think it means a lot for the program. I think it gives us a lot of confidence moving forward, but I still saw a lot of negatives in that game. So that was probably my ranting aspect when we get into more of the specifics of the game.
all right, awesome. Well, so first of all, shout out to your wifey who is off camera for driving so that you could pop in. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and get the rest of the text talk going. Ben, let's go with your text talk. What did you have for us this week? It was certainly lively.
Yeah, it was lively. I'll keep it a little simple. It was right before the last drive. I said special plays there by Pace, and then I said, "All right, KJ, time for your Bortles moment." And boy, did he ever have that! Blake Bortles was just so known for the last minute drives in that Cardiac Knights team, and we were able to. I was just really impressed with that last drive, just in general. I mean, we're definitely going to get into it, but just the ability to, you call it stubbornness, you call it whatever you want, but just the sticking to the run for so much of it. I mean, I had my 10-year-old son next to me on the couch, and he goes, "Why'd they run that play again?" It was just another run play. Like it was another run play by RJ Harvey or something that got about 3 or 4 yards. And I said this on the text talk a lot. To me, it just all seemed to be leading up to those last 2 plays of that drive. So certainly the 3 tackles by Pace to kind of shut down their last drive. And then that whole drive by KJ and RJ and Kobe Hudson, just the whole team on that last drive was something special. So I'm glad they're able to. I was glad that KJ was able to have his Bortles moment.
All right, so I will say I do not advocate betting. I know Alan does, but I don't.
I do.
Per se. But I did have a cigar on this game. So in my other text talk with my marketing team, one of the businesses that I own as a marketing team, it was a big game. And to tell you that all of them were watching was, kind of shows you what kind of stage we were on this week. and had a bet with a guy for a cigar. And man, I was getting it most of the first half. And all I kept saying was, I'm not worried. They're going to come back. This team's built very much like an SEC team. You know, it's going to wear you down. They're going to run it. They're going to impose their will. And Sonny Dyke said after the game, you know, that basically the defense got tired. The TCU defense got tired. We wore them out, and that's exactly what we're designed to do. And that's what SEC offenses do. They use their line, they run, they play power run game, and they wear you out over time. How many times over the past 3 weeks have we seen the P5 or P4 team basically outlast the G5 team or whomever that they're playing, right? You'll see these scores at halftime, then all of a sudden the fourth quarter, they'll be up at the end. So this was a classic George O'Leary ball, and Trey, you know what I'm talking about, type of game where we're just going to stick to our fundamentals, run the ball, and play defense. And although, you know, it kind of looked crazy in the first half, and obviously we'll talk about the receiving yards for TCU, you know, they played their defense and came through, and we played a little ball control, came up with more time of possession, and did exactly what George O'Leary used to do to these high-flying teams that you saw that dinked and dunked you all the way up and down the field. And that's what I told you guys last week is what they were going to do, and that's exactly what they did. All right, Josh Lazar. Oh, wait, you're last. Trey, what is your text talk?
Yeah, so my text talk it's kind of after what Ben said, but it was none bigger than those last three in the row. I mean, Deshaun Pace, those last 3 plays, I won't say won us the game, but it put us in position to go have that KJ drive. I mean, he was all over the place like a maniac. And I think there was no bigger sequence at the time than that. And again, I think our defense, I wouldn't say they struggled. I went back and watched. TCU had a really good game plan. And the quarterback, I think he played out of his mind. I don't think he'll ever play that again.
52 pass
yeah, and I think he was at like 69, 70% completion, like 390. Like, it was crazy. He was playing out of his mind. But the last drive,
still only averaging 7 yards per pass, right? So that tells you what they were doing. It was all dink and dunk. There wasn't a whole lot down the field.
I don't know. They had some big plays. I don't know if it's all dink and dunk.
It was all.
They had
a couple. They had maybe 2, and they went for
2?
touchdowns. And honestly,
they had more than 2.
That receiver had 200 yards. So I don't know if they only had dink and dunk.
They had more than 2. Most of what they were attacking was they wanted to get the ball out quick, and on the long third downs, they were finding space where our linebackers weren't, and that's pretty much what they did. But again, Deshaun Pace came through at the end, and we'll get into it like the scheme part a little bit.
Well,
it was a little bit off of Ben's, just the pace part.
Yeah, what I meant by that is like Besh. They kept saying Besh. It's spelled like Beck, but they said it Besh. So I don't know what the correct verbiage is there. But yeah, he would sit down in the soft coverage in our zone, and they would throw it for 10 or 20 yards, right? But in that range, it was the middle of the field, and he would just sit down in the zone and then catch it. But what I'm talking about is like you didn't see, but maybe 2 really longer than 20-yard passes. One of which was, I don't know how that guy caught the pass. Number one, it was between 2 defenders, and he got that one. And then there was one where the guy had to adjust in the end zone. That was also a tough catch. So, you know, they did what we expected them to do. Instead of doing a pitch, they threw it out for the screens, and it was very reminiscent of what you expect from that type of offense and what we saw from, you know, folks like Scott Frost without the running game. So
it didn't help that we were playing so soft in coverage either. We were pretty much conceding we were conceding all those throws.
There was no press. Now the second half, they started to do a little bit of that, where you'd see guys press, and then you'd bring Tennyson down, and you know he blitz or whatever. But the rest of the time, you're right. I mean, we didn't do that. We just sat in soft coverage to make sure we kept the play in front of us. And I think we were hoping our guys would would put pressure on the QB, and he was just getting it out too fast for that to happen. So, it was definitely a scheme play, and there was definitely some adjustments made in the second half, and we won the game. All right, Josh, what was your text talk? I imagine it's going to be somewhat humorous.
No. I there was a lot of humor in there, but so kind of in the first half, kind of in the first half. See, you're supposed to put it in the chat. Kind of in the first half, I said we did just about everything wrong, and we're down 14. So that tells you about the time frame. I texted that. All we need is the defense to actually hold, and we can come back.
Yep.
And at around 31-13, when we're in the third quarter, I predicted basically the entire thing. Said score one, stop one. I know it's going to be hard to do. We do that, we get some momentum. I think we have a shot. Miss either, and I think we're done. Because I didn't think we were still out of the game at this point, and that was like that edge of. I think that was right before basically the 2 throws to Kobe that they were like a 1 minute drive. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, you were like, there's the score, and now we need to stop. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was like score and then stop. And that's to me, that was the crux of the game within the game. Like at that point, all they needed to do is score one touchdown or one like 8-minute drive, and it was done. One last point on Sean Pace. I don't think he got credit for that third tackle.
No,
right.
And he should have, because that guy's knee was down. It should have been 4th and 5, and he should have had 3 tackles in a row. I mean, obviously slowed him up to go to 4th and 2, but that if they replayed that, it would have been 4th and 5, and he would have had.
He thought he got the tackle too. Did you see him
celebrating?
Hit him? He was celebrating. He thought he got the tackle too.
Well, he did. He just didn't get credit for it. And I will tell you, someone, I don't know if it's particularly shooting the gap, but when he went in front of or behind from his angle, the 2 offensive linemen to tackle the screen pass, someone in the NFL did that exact same thing. I think it was someone on Tampa Bay, actually, if I remember correctly, in that Tampa game. I'm like, I saw this yesterday. So it was wonderful, and we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, the big thing there, especially towards the end, and people don't realize in the second half, is we held them pretty much to 3 points at that point in the second half. So it was a tale of 2 halves. UCF played a whole heck of a lot better. One of the things I told you guys last week is, TCU plays really, really good halves. But, where they're dangerous is if they can put it all together for 2 halves. But I think part of it wasn't necessarily that they did terrible the second half. Their offense was clicking. I think our defense just stepped up and made plays, right? We always seem to be a step short on the first half, but the second half we made some adjustments and we got a little bit of pressure to get them out of their rhythm, and it worked. So, really, really, really exciting game. I was excited from the opening kick, and for me, 35-34. I mean, it's a Big 12 game. I told you guys this offseason, Trey had talked about the strain and making sure you were doing the extra, and all you heard about was in the offseason was, how the guys were being pushed so that they would push through in these tight moments, and how they were focusing on their whys to make sure that they were close and connected, and, all of these different things. And then the conditioning, right? So they were really pushing the conditioning. And it's funny, there was a clip during the game of one of the coaches, I can't remember which one it was, who was talking to the team. They were like, we did this during the summer, we're fresh. He kept saying that over and over to them again. And, you saw TCU's players, they looked worn out. Our guys did not. So other than, obviously we rotated well, although that there was certainly a questionable rotation, and Gus called himself out for that. Towards the end, because TCU was definitely slow rolling their guys off of the field. There were several different plays where we had less than 7 seconds to get a snap off. And before it looked like Kobe A should have had a touchdown before the half, but he ran the wrong route, and that was on him. And then, on our rotations, it slowed it down, and it really took a lot of time off the clock and kind of rushed us as well. And because of that, everybody was freaking out, about Gus and his, I don't know, his coaching, whatever. And he called himself out on it. He said, "Hey, I screwed that one up." So he recognizes it. We all recognized it, and it was extremely frustrated. But UCF beats TCU 35-34 on the road. Believe it or not, this is only the second Big 12 road win, and second legacy Big 12 win. And obviously we proved to 3-0. Some key stats here. This was a Big 12 defense. They were rated actually pretty high. A lot of people had some good suggestions or good opinions of them. We still put up 519 yards of offense. Last year, we put up a lot of yards, but we didn't score in the red zone. This year, we were able to turn those over into points when we weren't having our field goals or extra points blocked. Okay, so let's talk about that special teams for a second here. For those of you that you don't know, one, there were some missed blocks. They were doing some overloads to one side on special teams, and there were some missed blocks. But also, Boomer still kicks the ball low. Like, that's part of the problem is the exit velocity when it comes off of his foot, the angle is extremely low. And if you're in the NFL, that's not going to fly, right? So that's a part of this. So Boomer's got to figure out how to get the angle on his kicks a little bit higher. The second thing with that is it seems like we're slow to kick. Whatever his his sequences as he kicks, because one of the things that's important for kickers is repetition. And like golf, you want to make sure you're doing the same thing over and over again. By the time the ball's snapped, whatever his sequence is, it almost seems like he's a half step or a step slow that allows those defenses to come up and block those field goals. So we've got to clean it up. Whether he's kicking and he's making the field goals or not is moot if you can't even get it past the line of scrimmage. At the end of the day, that's got to be a takeaway, because we would have been ahead even the way things went. We would have been ahead at almost the entire game had our kicking game done. Just kick the field goals it was supposed to kick. They weren't hard field goals. I mean, one of them was longer, but well within the range of Boomer. But you can't have blocked field goals. You can't have blocked extra points. It's just, it's something that has to be fixed. That being said, 289 rushing yards at 5.4 yards per carry for the team. Let's talk about RJ Harvey for a minute. I'm going to sit back and shut up and let you guys wax poetic, because that dude, in a lot of those runs, A is incredibly good. His vision's incredibly good. He's patient. He waits for his blocks, but he's just a guy who does not go down on the first tackle or first contact, right? He pushes through the line. He pushes through tackles. He would lean forward for an extra 3 or 4 yards every time by just pumping his legs and doing things that you're supposed to do as a running back. So, if I'm someone else and there's someone that's 5'9", if I'm a defender, 5'9", 200 and some odd pounds, he's coming at me. He's got low center of gravity. He's churning his legs. It's going to be hard to get him down. But my goodness, UCF fans, watch and enjoy this season, because that is a very special running back. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, 29 carries, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6.2 average. And the 29 carries really stands out for me, because we watched the first 2 games of the season, and he was just spectacular in those first 2 games, but you could kind of manage the amount of carries. And what I really wondered going into this game is I knew that RJ Harvey was going to have to be an important part of the offense in order for us to win. And when push come to shove, like we're probably going to have to, he's probably going to have to exceed the amount of carries that we kind of predicted, as far as like him being managed on that front to get him ready for the next level and all that stuff. Like, we need him to, in certain situations, to really be the bell cow for us. And he showed it in this game. like I said in text during text talk, like I said over the text messages on like just reflecting on the game, I was just I was kind of it was kind of perplexing when you watched it, just the commitment to the run. But you got to give Gus a little bit of credit there that he just knew what he had, and he knew that he was going to wear this team down because RJ is just that good, and our offensive line and just the punishing runs that he was doing eventually would either set up a big play, which it certainly did on those last two plays of the game on offense for us, or just be able to set up a bigger run and get us in the right position from an offensive standpoint. So I think he's for sure it might not even be using the word dark horse at the moment, but he's definitely a dark horse Heisman candidate. It just seems like he's built to continue this and sustain this the rest of the season. And I'll knock on wood as I say it, but like I just really feel like he's poised to have a very special season for not only us but just nationally.
Well, third in rushing yards in the country. Miles Montgomery did come in. They were trying to put their rotations in. Miles Montgomery tweaked something. He did come back later in the fourth, but Penny Boone kind of took over. He did well.
Yeah, he had some great runs during that sequence for sure that he came in. He really contributed.
Yeah. So with all of that being said, I think that kind of switched the load to RJ Harvey to make sure he was carrying it. The other thing too, you mentioned the rushing attack versus the passing attack. TCU had 30 additional attempts and had less time of possession than we did as far as passing attempts. KJ Jefferson, 13 for 22, 230 yards, 3 TDs. Josh Hoover, 35 of 52 for 402 yards and 4. Now, again, the difference being KJ Jefferson, one of the things that we were looking for when it was Mackenzie Milton time or any of our quarterbacks is you want to be averaging somewhere between 10 and 12 yards per completion. He's just over 10 yards, whereas Josh Hoover, 7 yards. So, when you're talking about how guys make a difference, KJ Jefferson, obviously most of his passes, everybody who watched the game saw that it was in the second half. And he really put the team on his shoulders, right? So when he needed to, he went out there and did what he needed to win the game. And here's the thing. I told you guys this. He did this at Arkansas. I watched him do it at Arkansas over and over again in 2021 and 2022. And I told the guys in my other text thread that I was betting the cigar on. KJ Jefferson is the guy who you want to have the rock at the end of games because he is just going to keep pushing and he's totally cool under pressure. So, Trey Neal, as a former defender and safety, what do you have to say about RJ Harvey? I think you have a unique perspective on all of this.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's a stud. I mean, let's just get that out of the way. I think what makes it unique is he's not the tallest guy, so he hides a lot behind the O-line. And he's very patient. Like you said, he has great vision. So all of that plays to his strengths to where he can just wait on that hole to open, and he just explodes through it. Pause. He just his agility, and he has a great burst. I don't know if he's like a 4.3, like 4.4 guy like AK, but he's fast. But his burst, I think, is just as explosive. And again, we were, like you said, Ben, we were worried if he was going to get the full, the full amount of touches. And I think Gus is like, listen, in Big 12 play, this is the horse we're riding. We're going to go as far as RJ Harvey's going to take us. And I mean, the amount of running we're doing right now, that's the way it seems like so far as well. So I think he's a stud. I know it's a problem to tackle him just because low center of gravity, built to the ground. And he's not like a skinny guy. Like AK was a smaller guy. RJ's every bit of 215, probably 220 pounds. So and it's muscle. It's not like he's a little bit solid, I like to say. He won't, like KJ's, we will say he's solid. RJ's built strong and very well to do. So it's special we're gonna have to enjoy it because again, this is definitely his last year and until we see him on Sundays. But yeah, I think I can't wait. It's crazy to see it because I've seen so many great players. Just throughout the years, we've been able to experience these kind of great players, and just seeing him, 9 touchdowns through 3 games is crazy. Yeah. I mean, he's on pace for a lot of points.
Well, one of the things Ben didn't mention is that he also had a receiving touchdown as well. So not only was he doing it on the ground, but he was there, and that's really what sparked our comeback. Really was that catch by RJ in the end zone. That's what gave life back to the team. And the other thing about KJ too, people don't realize this, he had bruised ribs. He was playing with most of the game, so he got kind of hit early on, which is why he wasn't running as much. I mean, you watched him. We almost had a triple option game going on there early on with KJ, and then he was tackled and had bruised ribs, and he just did it through the air. So he can do it on the ground, and he clearly can do it through the air. Josh, what were your thoughts?
So a lot of the things that you just said were great. I'll start on that and work my way backwards. We did not have to rely on KJ being a running threat, even though he's there as a running threat. He did win the game with the team throwing through the air, right? I mean, more throwing touchdowns than we might have expected. And I love the fact that it didn't just have to be KJ on the run or triple option-ish, I love that. Now back to RJ, which is just, when I saw him in practice in spring, Trey was accurate. Warchan approved. He more muscles than I expected on a human being. Like I was almost startled, to be honest. And you can see that in Shells, you can see that development over time when we've seen him multiple years. Like, the year that he was out the entire year, we thought this breakout year was going to happen. And I'm not saying it's completely reminiscent of Kevin Smith, because that was a 2007, I believe. That season's just insane. But that's also because he had 30 to 35 carries almost every single game, and he was the offense. There wasn't too much else going there. So we have more than just RJ, and I'm glad we have RJ. I feel like he's going to get that 20 to 25-ish carries a game. He could probably score a touchdown on a wheel route every single game. I think we've actually scored a touchdown on a wheel route every single game at this point. And I feel like Penny Boone in there doing some work, right? Miles, if he didn't get tweaked, he's been doing great. We just have too much. And the only thing I thought, and I think a lot of fans thought, that we had to shore up prior to the defensive fun we had at that last game, was KJ being a threat in the passing game. I think that everyone is going to key in on making KJ win through the air.
Yep.
And the last game that happened, we just won it. So it's really amazing. And I'm excited for him. I'm excited to see where he goes, both as a UCF Knight and where he goes on Sundays at some point. He's definitely going to get he's going to get some shine, and however that works, it does. But it was great to see. And as low as you fans probably felt in that first half, and we were here too, and Alan was way over the top on that, maybe a little. I feel like we as a fan base needed to see RJ kill it.
Alan said he wanted to rant on this show, and I gave him the opportunity.
You're being nice.
He's going to get into it. He said
you're being nice. It was a little more than that.
Yeah. That was probably the nicest thing he said all evening. That's for sure.
He to his credit, he also said it on Twitter too. I am not calling it X. So anyway, for RJ himself, it's amazing. I feel like we're going to get more and more of that, and I feel like he's going to have one of the best running back seasons that you can reasonably have in the way college football is played now. I don't think we're going to have too many non-option teams that are going to have a 2,700 yard. Ron Dane isn't walking through that hall anymore, right? There are just not that running back that gets 10 or 12,000 yards in his career for one team is just not happening anymore. So,
all right. So
hold on. I got the side chat. No one knows who Ron Dane is?
Oh, I know who Ron Dane is.
Come on.
I'm telling you
what do you want us to do? Like celebrate that you mentioned Ron Dane?
No idea who that is.
Hold on. I want you, so people listening now, I want you to put in the comments whether you know who Ron Dane is. I need, without looking it up.
And don't Google it. This is a scientific experiment. Do not Google it.
I would say that our audience, I'd say hopefully, this is when we do polls, a quarter of our audience probably knows who Ron Dane is. We'll see. We'll see. But we're just not getting these prolific scorers that are at the same team that have a running back specifically that have these 2,000+ yard seasons every single year. And I do think RJ has a shot at a 2,000 yard season this year.
I mean, think about it. We said if he got over 1,000 yards this year, that like this season, that we would like consider him like top 2 running back in UCF history, right there with Kevin Smith right behind him. And he's got 448 through 3 games. He's got 450 yards through 3 games. And I know the first 2 opponents are there, but like, my goodness, I mean, TCU is no slouch. And it was on the road, and he had 180 yards when we needed every single one of those 180 yards. Yeah. So, I mean, there's something special going on there in that running back room in general, but RJ Harvey is definitely the captain of that ship.
Yeah. All right. So RJ Harvey, one of the things, since you guys mentioned it, moved into a tie for 4th in career rushing TDs this week. And solo 4th in rushing rushing yards in UCF history. So, he definitely is starting that process of cementing himself as a premier back and a legendary back when it comes to UCF lore. And remember, this is a guy who transferred from Virginia. He played his first season as a quarterback, had to learn how to be a running back. He played a little bit of running back when he was little and younger, but at the college level, he had to learn how to do all of that. So hats off to him. Can't say enough about him. And that strong running game, 11 of 16 on 3rd down. So I want to kind of throw some stats out there for people. I know this kind of felt weird. It felt like we didn't do well offensively, but let's kind of look at that real quick. So as good as TCU did in the first half, we were 11 of 16 for our 3rd downs, which was almost a 69% 3rd down conversion percentage. You have that, you're going to win a lot of football games, which was better than what TCU had. We put up 519 yards versus 460 for TCU, despite 230 of ours being passing and 289 of ours being rushing. We held them to 58 yards running. They averaged 3.4 per carry. That's right where we expected them to be. And we won the time of possession game. So I know it felt worse that we did worse than what we actually did. We missed some scoring opportunities in the first half as well. Probably 2 touchdowns, etc. But this team offensively, you've still got a team that put up 519 yards on a P4 defense and held time of possession and had a 69% 3rd down percentage, which was higher than TCU's in spite of how everybody felt about it, right? And won the game and came back and won the game. I mean, it's just this offense moved the ball both on the ground and in the air when we needed it. We could hurry up. We played the time of possession game. And hats off to the coaching staff and Gus Malzahn for this, because we ran the ball to get ourselves stabilized and back into the game. And then we went to the air when we needed it to be able to move the ball and speed up the game to get us in position where we had about 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, and it was anybody's game. So hats off the entire offensive coaching staff. Yes, we had the time management issue before the half, but honestly, masterfully called, sticking to what we did well, and defense, and a strong running game is going to win you a lot of games.
Yeah.
And we proved that this week. What did you guys think about overall about how the team did with regard to our offense this week? How would you rate this offense this week? I think TCU was just so over the top early on that I think people forget how well this offense actually did against a P14.
I mean, to me, you go ahead, Josh.
Okay, I go first. And now I'm going to get muted. So listen, he's drinking. Here's the thing.
So Trey, remember, Josh always goes last.
That's not true.
No, he can go. It's all good, Josh. Go ahead.
All right, Josh, go ahead. We don't need dead air. Trey doesn't want to take the bull by the horn, so go ahead.
I will be succinct. This offense looked like it had potential in the first half and basically tripped over and fell down multiple times. You know, whether it's special teams, whether it's, kicking game, they were just look at the opening sequence. The opening sequence was not bad. The opening drive was not bad. A little bit off on a throw. Maybe Kobe couldn't run to a deep pass. The concept.
No, he overthrew it a little bit. He let him a little bit too much on that throw, but it was the first pass of the game.
Yeah, I know. And it wasn't that bad. So the framework of a good offense was there. And we did everything possible to not win that game in the first half. And that reverse happened in the second half where we were lights out. I believe that is a accumulation of wearing down the defensive line through running attack. I hope some changes, light changes. I know so Dyke said that it was the exact same offense. I'm sure it was similar enough, but maybe the calling structure may have been a little bit different. But we all saw what we saw with our eyes. Trey live, everyone listening, probably not. In the second half, if we can have a complete game on the defensive end and any part of that second half for a full game, few people are going to beat us. So
no turnovers. That's the other big part of it. No turnovers. I mean, that Pittman fumble-ish was close, right? But
yeah, he got his ankle down.
It was down. TCU fans, if you're listening, his shin was down. So by law, and they blew the whistle before everybody had tried to recover. So it shouldn't have been reviewed anyway. But at the end of the day, even under the review, he had his shin down, so it wasn't a fumble before he lost control of the football.
Yeah, and that's the offense I think we as fans have been waiting for to see in Gus Malzahn's offense. Like, you've seen it in a couple of games with JRP and RJ, and that all work out with Javon Baker and Kobe. Like, you saw a little bit last year, but not enough of it. And I feel like we now have the lines and we have the defense. I know it's hard to say a defense that gave up that many yards and it looked like so wide open is an improved defense. I actually think it is. Trey can give you the facts of whether it is.
Alan would disagree with you. At least the text talk, Alan would disagree with you. So Alan.
Yeah. That's why I think about the offense. I feel like if we see a fraction or like a significant fraction of what we saw in that second half and we can put together whatever's in the first half, there's not a lot of losses on the schedule left.
ESPN FPI would agree with you. They have us winning every single game the rest of the way out. Alan, what were your thoughts on this defense? Is it improved or is it not improved?
Yeah, first of all, I thought I have zero problems with the offense, but the defense, I still see some warts there. I know we were all hyped up after the first two games. They looked really good. I think as much as we talked about how the first two opponents were weaker, I don't think we really gave that enough credit or enough talk that all right, we played Sam Houston State and we played New Hampshire. And, the defense played great, but, I think in the first half, they completed every single third down conversion, maybe outside of one. Yes, the defense played better in the second half, but when you look at, the statistics there, I mean, the fact that they converted 10 of 15 third downs, there was a ton of chunk plays. I think, they had 2 wide receivers who played out of their mind, and their quarterback, give them credit. Their quarterback is really good. I know we have a lot of good quarterbacks in the Big 12. That Hoover should be talked about more. I mean, to me, he looked like a top 5 quarterback in the league. And this is a league that has some really great quarterbacks. And the wide receivers made some good catch. I think his last name was Williams, who made that one catch where he was like opposite of his body and stuff. So there were some really, really good catches. But the defense concerned me in this game. I think the second half adjustments were good. And the fact that we limited them to, 6 points in the second half or 9 points, something like that, was promising, kind of second half Randy style right there in the second half. But I still saw a lot of warts there. It wasn't with tackling or anything like that, but
13 points, by the way, Alan. 10 points in the third and 3 points in the fourth.
Well, it's because they scored that first touchdown really quickly in the second half, and that's when we were like, "Oh crap, man!" Because we were like, "Oh, we stopped them in the first drive." No. And then they scored so quickly in the second half, but then we shut them down from there.
We did. And I don't know. I still saw some warts on this defense, like where I don't think how our defense played is going to fly. Like, I don't even think that was our toughest road game. We have West Virginia on the road. We have Iowa State on the road. We have Florida on the road. This was
Florida. By comparison, okay, no, you can't.
I'm just saying that, like, in the swamp, though, I don't think that's an easy game by any metric. Even if they are super bad this year, I just think that that's still a tough road game, just environment and all that type of stuff. So I still saw a lot of warts with this defense. We had a couple individual stars, like that's been mentioned. Deshaun Pace played out of his mind, but the secondary, I don't think played that well as a unit. We did not get any pass rush. I don't care how quick they got the ball out. Like, if that's going to be the thing where they get the ball out, because we've talked about that for 3 games now, where all the offenses that we played have gotten the ball out super quick. So that's why we're not getting any sacks. We have 1 sack in 3 games now.
That's literally
right. But then if that's going to be the case, then the secondary can't be playing 10 yards off.
Correct. I agree with you there.
And that's what's been happening. I mean, they were getting every third down and 10 we had in the first half was an easy first down for TCU's offense. So I still saw some of the same issues that we had. That was the main thing last year. We talked about it all the time, that we played soft coverage. They would get first downs, no problem, because we wouldn't give up that massive 30, 40-yard play, but they would get it. They would have crossing routes, whatever it was, and they would easily get the first down. That's exactly what I saw against TCU. So I think the defense objectively is better than last year, but I'm not convinced that they took a massive step forward. I think the D line is great. We all know that the linebackers are improved, but as a whole, I'm not super convinced that this defense is like massively improved. And I just didn't see that when you're talking about giving up 28 points in the first half and no problem getting first downs. I mean, come on, they converted on what? 70% of their third downs. That's not a great statistic.
No, they didn't actually. It
was 10 of 15, it was 11 of 16. So whatever that.
Yeah, we had 69%. They had 63%. So we actually outperformed.
Okay, that's a lot. I mean, it's still pretty bad. 63% is not great.
No, I agree with you. And so, like, to your point about Deshaun Pace, 11 total tackles, 8 solos, 1 tackle for a loss. However, Sheldon Arnold up next, 7 total tackles, 5 solos, and then Ladarius Tennyson, part of the secondary, 7 tackles, 3 solos. When he got in, he was really good. Quadric Bullard, 6 total tackles and 2 solos. So the thing that impressed me about this defense, especially in the second half, is that we were tackling well in space. We didn't need gang tackling. Ethan Barr, Sean Pace. That was the difference between last year. This year was the fact that we didn't need 3 people most of the time to tackle somebody, and 2, we tackled much better in space. Now, Deshaun Pace, on those 3 plays that you guys mentioned earlier, he knew exactly where that ball was going, and he shed a blocker to get to somebody on one of them. But this defense in general, that means you're a linebacker, Deshaun Pace, who is also a slash DB. You've got Sheldon Arnold, who's a DB. You got Ladarius Tennyson, who's a DB. You got Quadric Bullard, who's a DB. So those are your two safeties, right? Ladarius Tennyson and Quadric Bullard are your highest rated DBs. Then it was Ethan Barr, then Brandon Adams, and Antoine Jackson. But what that tells me is that they were stretching the field. So your DBs were being stressed. That's what they were testing with this offense, right? They knew they couldn't run up the middle. We proved that they couldn't run up in the middle. They only had 58 yards. So they were going sideline to sideline, which is a typical spread offense, right? They want to wear you out by going sideline to sideline. It's the same thing Frost did, run 110 plays, go side, when you're running, you're not going through the A gap. We played the SEC style. We're going to control the line. We're going to be able to run through the A gap, which we did. We're not going to sideline. They dinked and dunked for 7 yards per attempt, and they tried to stretch the field to wear our guys out. So strength and conditioning, as Josh taught us last year, Dawson, right?
Yep.
Dawson was the strength and conditioning coach for TCU. So was it Dink and Dunk or Drink and Dunk? Oh, sorry. Dink and Dunk. Yes, sorry. I misread that first. So at the end of the day, that's what that was their game plan. And we played it effectively, and our DBs did step up. Now, Brandon Adams got embarrassed a few times. Yeah. But not as bad as number 13 did for the defense, who was on TCU, who was talking smack the entire time to Kobe Hudson. And the second half, Kobe Hudson just dunked on him. We're talking about dinking and dunking. Well, Kobe Hudson said, "Screw the dinking. I'm just going to go straight for the dunking," and dunked on him. I mean, he, especially that last touchdown, that was just I think that's the most fire I've seen out of Kobe Hudson against a defensive back since he's been here. He was not having any of it, and he's like, "I'm going to get the ball no matter what." Not quite Javon Baker style, who would grab anything that was thrown in the air unless he dropped it, because every once in a while he did that. But circus catches, 50-50 balls, that was Javon Baker's role last year, and he was pretty good at it and rode that success to the NFL. But Kobe Hudson wasn't just the finesse receiver in this game. He made some tough catches, 2 of them that pop right off the top of my head, and he wasn't having any of it. And I think that's the attitude of this team, and that's the difference between this team and last year's team, whether it's on defense or offense or otherwise.
Yeah, I also think it's another difference that's shown in what you just talked about is that, like, Kobe Hudson's going to get a lot of one-on-one coverage this year because of how special our running game is. Like, they're going to have to stack the box. They're going to have to, always be looking in the backfield for a handoff to one of our running backs, and in particular RJ Harvey. And so, I mean, the commentators in the broadcast talked a lot in the second half of, man, they're really just going to try to continue to guard him one-on-one, and this is what happens. And so I think that him being being able to match up with the defensive back across from him and not really have to worry about a whole lot of safety help is going to work out to our advantage this year, because he is a special athlete himself. And, as Alan said, I mean, the kind of trio of stars that we have, RJ, KJ, and Kobe, like they really performed well throughout this game, and in particular in the second half. And we kind of kicked off this segment talking a little bit about defense, and I'll agree with Alan. Like, that was one of the things that you guys notice a little bit more details than I do watching the game as far as scheme goes. But one of the things that I just really stood out to me defensively is it just felt like whenever TCU needed to get a first down, they were able to do that. Whether it was 2nd and 7 or 3rd and 8 or whatever that may be, it just seemed like whenever they needed to get a big first down, they got that, up until, of course, about that middle of the third quarter where we started to get a little more momentum on our side. Mm-hmm. But that type of stuff, if we don't clean up against good teams, is going to really bite us, because that stuff is really demoralizing. It's just as demoralizing as what we can do to our team, our opponents with the running game. But just when you continually like seem like you have them, you kind of have you seem like you have their backs against the wall, and they're able to convert multiple times over throughout a drive, and then they string those drives together. It not only wears out the defense, but it just kind of demoralizes the defense. And that's something that we should look at this game. And I know that we will, look at this game as a point of emphasis to clean up moving forward, because that part to me is much bigger than giving up a big play here and there. That stuff happens. But
Ben, if I can offer you, because you said you don't notice as much as what some like maybe Trey or I do, right?
Sure.
One of the things that I want you to, and I want you to continue your point, right? But one of the things that I kind of want to point out is this defense specifically, I think, was schemed because they knew they were going to get their playmakers in space, right? And they knew that they wanted to do that quickly before the pass rush got there, because we knew that their offensive line wasn't as good as our defensive line, right? And I think that the reason they did what they did and the reason they were playing off is because they knew they were going to get them in space, but they didn't want them to break a big one. And they had trust in the offense to be able to control the clock with time of possession. I think that was what the thinking was going into it, and why we played the defense the way that we played the defense. We knew that they were going to get their receptions, but we held them as far as their yardage is concerned. And you think about this, you go back to what we're talking about offensively. Josh Hoover, he completed 35 passes, 35. But they still only put 402.
Only?
No, but think about it. 35 passes you completed. You attempted 52, right? You completed 35 passes and you only got 402 yards. KJ completed 13 and got 230. And the point that I'm trying to make here is not that, it's great. Yeah, it's great that he completed 35 of 52. I mean, that's impressive, right? That's a good percentage.
He played 9 out of 10
good.
tonight.
Yeah, he played good.
Yeah, he played really well. That's all impressive. But the scheme, the reason he was able to complete that many is, one, he wasn't throwing very many 50-50 balls. He wasn't throwing very many long balls. 7 yards per attempt, right? And again, their whole scheme is to get the ball in space to their playmakers quickly so they avoid the pass rush and then try to let them win the one-on-ones in space. Our defense is set up so, hey, we're going to try to disrupt them, but they were getting the ball out too quickly. So if we're going to do that and we're going to focus on that, and we know their playmakers are shifty in space, which they were, and they proved that, then we're going to have our guys sit back a little bit because by the time the receivers that they were throwing it to a lot of them were sidelines right by the line of scrimmage or within 5 yards of the field, and you can bump them within 5 yards of the field or 5 yards of the snap, right, on the line of scrimmage. But you're not going to have enough time to disrupt the route if he's already got the ball out. If he's going to snap it, take one step and throw, you're just not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to get there fast enough. And I think schematically, if you're asking the why behind it, not whether we agree with it or not, the why, I think that's what they were trying to do, because they knew they were going to get that. They knew they were going to get the ball out quick, and they knew they were going to try to win matchups, and they wanted to give our guys enough time and space to be able to close on that. Now we switched that in the second half. You saw things like pace, right? And what was he doing? He as soon as he recognized the play, he shed what his position was or what his assignment was and went straight for the guy who was getting the ball, right? We brought Tennyson down several times on long blitzes, right? That's when it changed, because the key to this game was always going to be, if we controlled the clock and we were able to run the ball and we got ahead, there's no way they could catch up. That didn't happen. We got behind. So I think that's what you saw. And Ben, I'll take a step back. I'm sorry, that took way longer than what I expected, but I think schematically, I wanted to point out that's what we were seeing and what the thinking was. So
yeah, I mean, it's just to that point. I mean, just to kind of put a period at the end of the sentence there. I mean, the first four, the four drives that led to touchdowns by TCU in the first half: 10 plays, 56 yards, touchdown; 9 plays, 71 yards, touchdown; 9 plays, 71 yards, touchdown; and 13 plays to end the half, 75 yards, touchdown. So, like, I mean, whether you're getting those amount of plays from as short passes or from, pounding the rock in the running game, like that can wear out a defense and put a little bit of a, demoralizing feeling going into the locker room. And certainly our fan base was feeling that, feeling a little bit demoralized and maybe angry would be a more accurate term at halftime, including Allen. But even to that point though, like, and maybe this is what you're really talking about, Roger, is that was what they did in the first half, and then they came out in the second half, 4 plays, 75 yards. They were getting big plays because of what they did to us in the first half. So like, those short passes can kind of set up, bigger plays down the line. And I just think that while potentially there was some schematic things going on and we were trying to hold them and make sure that they don't get the big play on us in that first half, I think that type of scheme could potentially wear us down, where we need to take a little bit more chances with the athletes that we have on defense a little earlier on than what we saw in this game. And I think that's kind of the point of what we're all talking about defensively is what worked in the second half. Like you said, Deshaun Pace getting to the ball quickly, using our athleticism, using our speed that we have on defense, and trusting our guys a little bit more instead of laying off. I think that's something that we're going to see. We're going to hopefully be able to see as we match up with these teams down the line.
Yeah,
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Alan. Sorry.
I think, like, the one big takeaway I had, and I don't know if this was talked about before I hopped on, but like, I think one of the things is we vanquished a couple of demons. We were able to win on the road, and we were able to win a tightly contested game, which is something we had a huge problem with last year. I think the confidence that this is going to give us for the rest of the year is so important, that something that we can't really even measure right now. It's going to, kind of play out in the rest of the season. The fact that UCF knows now that they can come back from 21 down on the road and win, I think is something that's going to really be so crucial for the rest of the year. It's something they couldn't do last year. And to me, this was against a very talented TCU team. I don't think we're going to look back at this win and be like, oh, this is a 4-8 TCU team. Like this kind of
TCU is going to win a lot of games.
They're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
I mean, some of their receivers were unreal. Their quarterback, I think, is very good. A lot of their players were really good. So this is a really, really big win for us in a lot of different ways, a lot of different metrics. So I think, the fact that we were able to do some things that we weren't able to do last year, I think it showed growth and maturation that we didn't. That, we're waiting for this. We were waiting to see, like, all these new players. We got all these, big steps we're supposed to take. I think that played out in this game, regardless of how the defense looked and regardless of some of the warts that we showed. That to me was the biggest takeaway, is that we were able to do some things that we couldn't do last year. Yes, I think the defense still showed some problems that didn't show up in the first 2 games that I'm still concerned about. But I think this offense and this run game is literally going to keep us in every single game. I have no complaints about the offense. I thought it was the 3-headed monster we have of KJ, RJ, and Kobe is something that a lot of teams in the country don't have. I mean, they accounted literally for all 5 of our touchdowns. They were, why you have these type of players, they make big players make big plays in big games and big moments. And that's exactly what they did. And, I think on some levels you can look at, like, I still think the wide receiver depth is total crap, but like when you have those 3 guys, like, those guys can make plays, and that's exactly what they did. It didn't matter. TCU knew the ball was going to RJ or Kobe, and it didn't matter. They were too good. I saw Kobe, burn a lot of the DBs, and I saw RJ, I mean, there was plays we had like 3rd and 7s, and Gus chose to run it, and it was resulting in a first down. Like when you have that type of reliability and dependability on your stars, I think that can go a long way. I think there's some things we can clean up, but going into this bye week with that win, I think it gives us some confidence that we haven't had in a while. And I think we have a lot of hope going into this next stretch of the schedule, where this can be a good team, but I still have some concerns, but I really saw some growth that I didn't see that last year when we were down 21 or down 14. Like, I don't think we could have held on like we did at this time.
We would not have won that game last year.
We would have won that game. And that's what we talked about last year
Blown out.
over and over again. And this year, now I'm finally seeing that one game, I think this will pay dividends that we can't see right now.
Yeah, this is one we're going to look back on if we have a special season, which we of course all hope we have. Like, I think this is the game that we're going to look back on and say, okay, we like proved to ourselves that we could get to this level if we can do that and continue this on. And I'll agree with you about the wide receiver depth. I will agree with you wholeheartedly. I will say, though, Randy Pittman had some amazing catches or some big time plays in the game. And so from the tight end position, we've got a great option there.
And what did I tell you guys? That was going to be part of this. And we've seen it all 3 games. Like, we finally leaked
Pittman's
the tight end.
Huge.
Yeah. And not only that, but what he does with the ball after he catches it, right?
He's a punishing guy.
Doesn't turn it over.
He's fast, and
because I don't think X is turning into the player we thought he. I just don't. I think X is not turning into the player that we thought he was. He had a couple nice moments in the first 2 games, but I said this from day one, and everyone ripped me on Twitter. Like, I think our wide receiver depth is still total crap, and I'm not even sure Xavier Townsend is a great wide receiver too.
Yeah,
it comes down.
I'm so confused. Like, just the way that I think of football, like the way I think about it. This should not be a hard team to stop in a sense, because you just load the box and double Kobe. We literally don't throw the ball downfield. The only person we throw the ball is to Kobe Hudson. That's it. Everybody else, it's misdirection with Randy Pittman sneaking out, RJ Harvey sneaking out on the wheel, or simple throws. Like, as far as if I were game planning our team, I would commit to stopping the run and take away Kobe and make somebody else beat you, which that's where I get worried, because when we start playing, we go play Utah. They're a really good defensive team.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably what they're going to end up doing. And to me, to win a game, you've got to have a second outside threat.
Well,
just a viable one, because we don't even use Xavier Townsend except on reverses. Legitimately, that's the only thing he does is a reverse.
Well, let me put some context behind that too, right? Defensively, when you're scheming, right? One of the things, if you have a pass catching tight end, let's say you double cover Kobe, you always have that pass catching tight end on the opposite end of the field, right? Because that safety is going to have to go and cover Kobe. So then you leak the tight end out, or you have a wheel route to RJ, which nobody's going to be able to cover because it's a game of mismatches. So if you double team Kobe, right? X is a gadget. Well, he's not even a gadget. He's a wide receiver 3. He's a slot receiver. He's not going to get.
We don't even use him in the slot. Legitimately, I watched all game. It was he comes in motion on jet sweeps.
That's it. That's all he does.
He goes to the flat, or he stands there and runs reverse. Like, that's he doesn't run any slot receiver routes.
I'm not disagreeing with you whatsoever. But what I'm saying to you is, because of that, we're using Pittman and RJ, right? Because of all the motion that's going on, they're sucking them up, right? And then if the safety goes to double cover Kobe, right? Then you've got mismatches with RJ. Well, less than one-on-ones. But you've got Pittman, and then on top of that, Jacoby Jones is now starting to hold on. He's starting to come into his own. I think that you're going to see more use for Jacoby.
I think you are being very positive right now.
I don't.
I was going to say the same thing.
That's literally what we've done. So
at some point,
but over 3 games,
Jacoby gives us 1 catch in 3 games.
He has 1 catch.
Hold on.
If we're I'm gonna be honest. If we're game planning it, like just how we've done it, it is stop RJ Harvey, one, stop all the run plays. I mean, this is what we did when we played them in the Peach Bowl. It was stop Kerryon Johnson, who was their beast running back, and stop Darius Slayton. They didn't get the ball to anybody else. That's not what the offense is trying to do. It's a lot of we used to call
but then you have
dancing ponies. Just a lot of stuff in your face to hope if you don't play sound, that's where you eke it out. And I think
that's what the RPO is all about.
Huh?
That's what the RPO is all about, because now you've got KJ also as another running back, which frees up RJ.
For sure. I'm saying what I'm saying is we need to develop more. We need another threat outside of Kobe.
That's concerning me. Why hasn't UCF had more than 2 receivers in almost 4 years now? Like that was a position that was never a problem. I mean, we're talking dating back to Conference USA. I can name like we always had 3 legitimate receiver threats. I haven't seen like last year was Javon and Kobe. This year it feels like it's only Kobe. Like I don't understand what's going on with that. Like I get we're a run heavy team and our running backs actually get a lot of passes, but like it's crazy to me that we're having so much trouble finding even a third wide receiver like the Frost Bears, like we had 4, 5.
It's not that we're having trouble finding them, and they keep transferring.
That's true too.
Who's transferring?
Can you blame him?
Who's transferring?
If you let me answer the question,
Quan Lee's playing at FAMU. Like, okay.
Now hold on, let me finish. So think about. All right, so Gus came in, right? And who did he have on the roster that what was the last 4-star receiver that we brought in?
Titus,
exactly.
Well, he's not that good at UCLA.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So Titus was a freshman when he came in, and he got a few catches, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Then he followed Sock Boy out to the West Coast because they were all supposed to go to UCLA, and that didn't happen. Obviously, he left, went to Oklahoma, but he left Titus out there, right? So then the next season, who did we recruit? Do you remember?
That was Javon's first season.
Right. Well, that's the transfers, but who did we recruit from the freshman receiving class? Because we knew Javon was going to leave. So we got Javon and Kobe that year because we didn't have anybody that we brought in because Gus came in the recruiting cycle, right? So that was
Conley and the kid that's from the kid that chose us over Florida, who hasn't played a single snap his entire career yet, who's still on the team. I can't even remember his name.
So he didn't play at Florida, right? So those were 2 years, right? Then we had the third recruiting season under Gus, right? And what have we been talking about? We've been talking about a certain receiver that has not hit the field. Yeah, exactly. Bradell Richardson, right?
Hasn't played.
So realistically speaking, we would have normally expected Titus to be here, which would have been a 4-star receiver. Javon Baker and Kobe Hudson would have been our receivers, right?
This year?
Then,
You're talking about the first year?
No, the first year would have been Titus. That's why I said Gus came in late in the cycle, if you remember, on the first year. He came in like January or something when Josh Heupel left, right? So the cycle was already over. You had nobody to recruit.
He used Ryan O'Keefe on screen passes the entire first year.
Yeah.
Well, he's in year 4 now. So what's the problem with receivers?
Bump screens.
Well, we should have had Ryan O'Keefe and we should have had Titus, right? For the in between. Then you would have had Javon and Kobe, right? Last year we went heavy on receivers. We got a bunch of we got Bradell, and then we missed on a couple of them. And then for this upcoming class, we've got 3 receivers that are 4-star receivers that are coming in. That's where your wide receivers went. Josh Heupel left. We didn't have anybody coming through the pipeline other than Titus that was a 4-star receiver that had any promise. Period.
But he's in year 4 now, though. So
he's in year 4, but he's on the 3rd recruiting cycle. And I just explained to you what happened in the recruiting cycles. You asked me what happened, right? First year, he didn't have an opportunity. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just saying this is legitimately what happened.
We've never had 4-star receivers until.
Yeah.
I know. We also didn't play in the Big 12 either.
But my thing is just the talent. Like, none of these guys we're mentioning besides the transfers I haven't seen any true.
There's been one high
flashes
school
of
recruit that's
Richardson.
been good under
And that's
Gus.
just
We should have had Ryan O'Keefe last year. We should have had Ryan O'Keefe. We should have had. Hold on. We should have had Ryan O'Keefe, Titus. No, but listen, Javon Baker and Kobe Hudson. Right? Kobe Hudson comes back. We had Breedell Richardson that we got last year in the recruiting out of high school. Right? So that was our biggest wide receiver set. We missed on a couple of guys that we thought we were going to get. We got Quan Lee. He was a bust. I don't know where he is now. Where is he?
FAMU.
Yeah. So he's at FAMU now and offering to move Billy Napier. I don't know if you guys saw that tweet, but it was pretty funny. We missed on Quan Lee last year. We had Breedell Richardson. He obviously did a lot of things in the offseason. He wasn't ready. Okay, he's going to be here next year. Plus, we've got 3 additional wide receiving threats that we're going to bring in. So that you asked why we are where we are. We missed out on an entire season. We had 2 other cycles. One cycle we had 1 hit. The other one we didn't. And then we had 2 transfers that we weren't expecting. That's why where we are.
I'm not sure that answers it, though. I don't understand.
I don't want to speak for Alan and Trey. I think that what we're talking about here, though, is like what has Gus shown top wide receiver recruits around the country that where you have the ability to spread the ball out and they're gonna be able to eat. Like that's the thing.
If I'm a big time receiver, why would I come play?
You're not. I mean, unless you're going to be the top in the offense. Like, I mean, we even saw it last year. I mean, Kobe had a pretty good year last year, but I mean, Javon Baker was the clear number 1 option.
Yeah.
But like, we just don't have that's okay. We don't have an offense. Like, I think our expectations of us having 3-4 wide receivers involved in the offense game plan from game to game is just. Maybe it's just
because we used to have that. That's why we're used to
right. And I'm just saying that maybe with Gus Malzahn, what we're just going to have to realize is that we don't have that anymore. Like that's not our style of football anymore. What our style of football is power run game. The QB power, and then trying to take our shots with a couple of options on.
O'Leary, we had receivers.
We did.
I don't know what it is. We need another. We can't have one receiver. That's the only.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not even talking about we have to have like 4 or 5 people. Like we don't even have. I feel like we don't have 2. Like that's just that to me is just concerning. Like Tyree Patterson's been a bust. Then you had Tyler Griffin bust, Quan Lee bust. Like every single receiver and then you say Titus, but like would Titus have turned it? Like Titus isn't a star at UCLA. Like maybe you could make the case he would have been a star here, but it's not like. Even if we kept him, what would he have been? Anything? I don't know. And that was also not a Gus.
Totally didn't click for me that was that Hawaiian kid until you just said UCLA. I totally forgot who that.
Yeah, like and he's
and that just maybe that shows who he is. But
O'Keefe is the only one where I feel like that was a loss. Like if we had O'Keefe like that, I think he's like number 5 all time in UCF reception. That was a big loss. But Titus.
But think of why did O'Keefe leave?
Because he wasn't utilized much.
And that's my thing. Like. We're talking about how great O'Keefe was. Gus didn't utilize him correctly, and
he couldn't. I mean, you had Dylan Gabriel that was supposed to still be here, but that was a totally different offense. And Dylan Gabriel left, and O'Keefe left as soon as Dylan Gabriel left. He didn't wait until
O'Keefe stayed another year.
No,
O'Keefe was here when we played Florida, and Dylan Gabriel didn't play Florida in the bowl.
That's true. He had the peace sign. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true because he did the Otis thing. That's
and again,
right.
He was here with Mikey.
That was Mikey Keene as a true freshman, though. That was Dylan Gabriel got hurt that year, and he left before that bowl game because he left after the Cows game.
Yeah,
and then Ryan O'Keefe left.
Oh, he did. Ryan O'Keefe's last year, correct, was Mikey Keene's the year that Dylan Gabriel got injured. That's true. Yeah,
that's right.
So he went to BC, and then he got injured.
And that lines up. Yeah. Because he went with, and then
Tommy. I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm not really complaining because as long as we win, I could care less what we have.
I don't care how.
Running backs are so good; it doesn't matter.
We're just analyzing what we see, what we can improve on. To me, if we want to, because I think we're a conference contender. I mean, like you said, ESPN has us predicted to win the rest of the games. I could comfortably say we could run our way to the conference championship.
Offense is not our problem. Defense is going to be the question.
It's not our problem. It just annoys me.
I mean, but I don't think we can run our way to a national championship. When we play, let's the magnitude of teams we're going to play if we make the playoffs. Let's just walk down hypothetical road. We're playing Georgia. We're talking Ohio State, Alabama, Texas.
Dude, Georgia almost got beat by Kentucky. Don't talk about Georgia. You can't.
We almost got beat by TCU though. Like
this week, you cannot use Georgia. You can use Texas, but don't use Georgia.
Regardless, what I'm saying is these teams are not just going to let you run the ball down their throat. You're not going to go SEC football on these teams built for the
on
SEC.
These SEC teams.
And as great as we are, as great as we've gotten to it, we have to develop something outside of Kobe Hudson. That's all I'm asking.
We do. We have to develop. That's my thing. I just want to develop.
I think that's Pittman.
But
hopefully.
It can be Pittman. I'm not saying it, but the way we're utilizing him now, it's a lot of most of the guys outside of Kobe were sneaking them out and a lot of tricking the people. Not Kobe is out there. Hey, go win a one-on-one. You're that good. We need another guy that can do that. That's what
I think it's less about that, honestly, and I think it's how Gus wants to play with who he's got at QB because he can. I mean, you basically could run a triple option with KJ, and you have people like RJ, you have people like Penny Boone, you have people like Miles Montgomery in the backfield there with them. So it's a true RPO. And we wore him down initially, and then, hey, you're going to crowd the box. What are we going to do? We're going to throw it. We did it in the second half.
Look, we're a run-first team. I agree on all that, and we have running backs that can catch the ball, and they actually have all of our running backs have more catches than all of our wide receivers besides Kobe, which is fine. It's just funny to me that we bring in, like we talked about before the season. It's like we bring in Javarius Johnson, who led Auburn in receiving. We bring in Jacoby Jones, who led Ohio in receiving. Last year we brought in that Marshall kid who led Marshall in receiving, and then they get here and they literally do nothing. I don't know if that's a talent issue or it's a scheme or whatever it is, but it's just like interesting to me that like we always bring in these names and I just don't know if maybe it is just the product of Gus's offense, but it's interesting how like a lot of these guys have not panned out. And like, I just think at some point
you had 2,000-yard receivers last year. 2.
Yeah. Javon and Kobe. Yeah, I agree. But now I think Kobe's the only person that is going to get even close to that. Like, I think we still need to develop these guys for Dell and these guys. Like, it can't just be names in spring ball. Like, they have to do stuff.
I get that, but you've also got 2,000-yard rushers and a 600-yard rusher from last year, and in the running back room. So it's like if you've got that, plus you've got a 260-pound quarterback who's not afraid to put people on
we got weapons.
Like,
I'm not worried. I have no problem with the run pass distribution. I have a problem with only throwing the ball to Kobe Hudson really downfield and everybody else is just missed.
Because if he gets injured, it feels like we're effed, basically. Yeah.
Well, that may be the case. That I agree with.
And I guess that's my only. I wouldn't even say a complaint. It's just we all expect the way we've looked so far offensively. It's like we can run our way to the conference championship. I don't think anybody thinks we really can stop our run game in conference, and I haven't seen it yet. And maybe down the road it happens. But if we win conference, we're in the playoff. And you're not going to run triple option, essentially football, to a national championship. It just doesn't work. It's
unless you're
in the 40s, it was great.
Who?
Georgia Tech.
Former Georgia Tech.
I guess that's my only thing. Defensively, we have. Alex said it. We have like. Small things. Go ahead.
UCF is number 6 in the nation in total yards per game, 570.5. Hold on, let me finish. Rushing 307 yards per game, and number 12 in points per game at 45.7. That being said, there's 2 teams that we played early on, right? So we'll see how that works out. The difference, I think, between this year's offense and last year's offense is the fact that we can actually score in the red zone.
Yes, that's a big difference.
What is
which was not evident in the first half, which is
when we're breaking down
a lot of fans in the first half.
When we're breaking down the total yards, it sounds good because it's just a lot of yards, but where are we in the pass part?
We're down there.
Well, we really didn't pass all that much in the first 2 games. We actually did better this game than we did.
This game was our season high in passing yards, which is somewhat encouraging. I thought the distribution was a little better, maybe not attempts wise, but yards wise. I mean, KJ played a lot better. Everything went to Kobe essentially, but the passing game looked better. I mean, Kobe's such a weapon that he could be that guy that gets like a 200-yard game and the passing game looks good. So
if we can stay with between 10 and 12 yards per attempt, that's really the sweet spot for championship teams. And so far in each game, in spite of the fact that we've only had, the first 2 games, we didn't have that many attempts, we've still averaged over 10 yards per attempt. Yeah. So as long as we can keep that going, and we really haven't needed to do it. That doesn't mean we can't. It just means we haven't needed to.
We haven't needed to.
So
I'm not really worried about the offense. That was just a side point that just has annoyed me for a couple of years because I went to school here in 2007 when I was like, wide receiver is what we were known for other than DB. It's just crazy to see the caliber of athlete that we get now and how attractive our program is, where it's just weird to kind of see this lack of receiver. Like when in 2007 you had 2 or 3 guys were going to the NFL, and that was
and they were also developed over 3 or 4 years versus just
that's true.
That's true. Get it right.
Is the talent there, but the scheme isn't? Like that's the other thing. It's just like, are we not going to involve a second, third receiver as often as what we got used to?
I don't think we do. I agree.
Yeah,
I don't think we do.
Part of our game plan.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. And I think that's why we use Pittman, and that's why I think we use RJ in those wheel routes, is because we've got them crowding the box. So if they're going to crowd the box, let's go ahead and use those players that they can't cover, right? Because the corners and safeties are going to be covering the wide receivers. That's really what I think all it is. But we'll see.
Outside of, it's crazy to think that, Kobe's averaging 103 yards per game and he's averaging 23.8 yards per catch. Like that guy, he's got some drops too, which is crazy to think about. Like, he would have more than the 2 touchdowns if he didn't drop a couple already, but yeah, 23.8 yards average per catch. Pittman's averaging almost 16 yards per catch. That's big time for a tight end.
And that's the big thing, right? So instead of having multiple receivers to take pressure off of Kobe, we're getting them to crowd the box. And so Kobe has room to work and on one-on-ones, either on 50-50 balls, or he has one-on-ones on being able to get loose because those defenders are coming down into the box.
Last thing I'll say is just, I think, Xavier, I think potentially part of your frustration, Alan, and it's understandable, is like, while we've seen little flashes of it against weaker opponents, like what has Xavier Townsend really done? Like, and that's where it's like, it just seems like, it just seems like he's got something there. He's got the talent. He's got some explosiveness in him. And we've seen little glimpses of it against the New Hampshires and the Sam Houston States of the world. But like, when are we going to see it against Baylor, against a TCU like we just saw? But like, when are we going to see it in a bigger game? I think that's where
it's like
a little bit of the frustration.
-2 yards receiving this game. Like,
I just want to see him run routes like that. He doesn't run any routes. It's just jet sweeps and reverse. Like, and for somebody that's so explosive with the ball in his hands, even the simple, a slant route and just get the ball in space.
We did have slant routes the first 2 games. I'm just saying. We did have that the first 2 games.
Yeah, but again, why does it disappear now?
I just don't think that's the game plan. So we'll see what happens throughout the season. I just don't think that's the game plan. I think our strength is our running back room, and we're leaning on it, and a running quarterback. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about Week 3 score predictions. Who was closest to the pin? So last week, Trey was a little aggressive last week. 49 to 7.
Wait, no, hold on. I think.
Wait, those aren't updated.
They're lower. They're lower.
Yeah. Keep going lower.
They're down here. Here, I'm gonna move them up. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, okay.
Here, it's right. I just put it under it right here.
All right. So,
Oh shit!
whoa, I can't read that. That's blinding
Hold
my
on.
eyes, Alan. It's yellow.
Hold on. Might be.
Change
How's
it.
that?
How
Okay, that's better.
many people?
All right. So black and gold score predictions for last week. Josh had the score as being 34-24. So pretty close on the good guys. Little off on the bad guys. Ben was at 31-21, so he was a little low for everybody. Trey, 34-20 good guys. So again, almost right there, closest to the pin on the good guys, but not so good on the bad guys. And he copied Ben. Me, I had us at 38-21. So again, I was low on the bad guys, high on the good guys. But again, I was betting on us getting out ahead and controlling the clock. Nobra, the producer, 35-24.
Pretty
and
good.
Alan, 31-23. So with all that being said, Nobra, the producer, was closest to the pin this week.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing with his thumbs right now, but 35-24.
I got Bob Barkered.
You did.
Let's go.
Where's the
Got a
goggles?
dollar bet on Bob Barker.
I got Bob Barkered by 1.
The dollar holla. So Nobra won the dollar holla. So congratulations, Nobra, this week. You do not have to buy steak. Everybody else, we're all pretty much in the doghouse. All right. Let's go ahead and move on and talk a little bit about our week 4 preview, which is the bye week. So for me, the preview this week is fix the kicking game. Number 1, get healthy, make sure bruised ribs are taken care of. Do the little things, take care of Miles Montgomery, and get ready for Colorado. Again, Colorado, which is the following week, which is our next game, is going to be tough because they are a passing team. So we're hoping that those defensive backs, really tighten up because that's going to be the challenge for next week. All right. So I think we're going to win against the bye. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Remember that was a big thing as part of the 2017 season.
Can we win against the bye?
I think we may beat the bye. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel pretty good about it.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more about Big 12 football scores. So Oklahoma State wins big over our nemesis, the Golden Hurricanes, 45-10 at Tulsa. So they overcame the 12 fans that were there rooting for Tulsa. Cincinnati beats Miami of Ohio 27-16. And for those that don't know, that's actually a rivalry game for them that goes back literally over 100 years. So that's a big deal for them.
And they're ending it too.
What's that?
They're ending that rivalry too.
Yeah, unfortunately. Texas Tech beats North Texas 66-21. Maybe Texas Tech has shown up, or maybe North Texas is that bad, but that's a better sign than it was the previous week. Pitt beats West Virginia 38-34. West Virginia should have won that game. They were behind most of the game. Then were up by 10 in the fourth quarter and lost. I actually watched that game. Utah. What's that?
I just said me too. That game was wild. That ending of that game was back and forth.
This college football season feels like that there's been more wild games, and it's not just because of the Big 12. I mean, all over college football, it's been weird. Notre Dame going down, a lot of close games, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, etc. Utah beats Utah State 38-21. That heated rivalry that's rejoined. Baylor beat Air Force 31-3. Congratulations, Baylor. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Colorado beats CSU 28-9. CSU did a lot of jawing after last year's results, but Colorado took care of business. Houston beats Rice 33-7. So there you go. Congratulations, Houston. Maybe they're turning the corner, or maybe Rice is as bad as we think they are. Yeah. I think it's more of the latter than the former. BYU beats Wyoming 34-14 with a whole heck of a lot of defense. Here's something, because we do play BYU this year. BYU's defense is pretty good. Their offense may not be great, and they had a running back or several running backs that were injured, but their defense is pretty good. So something to keep an eye on. Kansas, Andrew, we should have had you on the show. Kansas loses to UNLV 23-20. Come on, Kansas. Come on, Kansas.
Has anybody seen the UNLV turnover slot machine that they have? They have a turnover. So a turnover chain obviously is like something that other schools do. They have a slot machine on the sideline that the players literally pull when they get a.
Do they win anything? Do you know anything about this?
No, it's like a fake one. It pulls up like 3 UNLV symbols, but it's like they get to pull it. It's ridiculous.
So it's rigged just like Vegas. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So Kansas loses to UNLV. I don't know what's going on with Jaden Daniels, but he's got, again, turnover city for the third week in a row. He's not the Jaden Daniels that we saw 2 years ago. I'm sure if UCF were to play them next week during the bye, he would turn up and be a Heisman candidate. But
probably.
Kansas has got problems. I mean, they've got serious problems. So K-State beats Arizona 31-7 in a non-conference game. Reminder that this was a non-con game that was scheduled before the Arizona moved to the Big 12. However, good on Kansas State. Their quarterback looked great. They looked like a much better team than they did against Tulane. Tulane is still a good team, folks, but Arizona is who we thought they were. I told you that they are a paper tiger. All they have is their quarterback and wide receiver, who, by the way, won national honors for his performance, 309 yards receiving last game. Or last week. Arizona State beats Texas State 31-28 in a hotly contended game. Again, this looked like a P4 playing a G5. GJ Kinney, who you should all know is Texas State's head coach, and they played really, really well. I was expecting them to win that game, but they lost in the end. Overall, the Big 12 went 11-4, and we still have 4 ranked teams. Now, the key is not necessarily the amount of ranked teams, but how high they will be ranked as the season progresses. So keep an eye on that. Utah currently is ranked at number 12, KSU number 13, OSU number 14, ISU, a lot of SUs here, at number 20. UCF is getting 6 AP votes and 27 votes in the coaches poll. So seeing a little bit of progress, but still no respect. I feel like if when we play Colorado, that will change. That's the media effect. According to Mr. Ford, UCF has the best chance to go undefeated in conference play, an 8% chance, and 33% chance to go 8-1, and a 30% chance to go to the playoff right now, with the FPI saying that we're going to win the rest of the way. So that's interesting considering who we have on the schedule. All right, that will wrap it up for the Big 12. No real embarrassing losses this week. So far the teams are kind of playing out the way that we thought and the way that we've kind of described them after the first few weeks. Scattaboo won honors again this week nationally as well. When we play them, he's going to be the guy that we have to stop. If we can stop Scattaboo, which is our strength in between the tackles, then we'll be just fine. Poor guy named Scattaboo. All right, let's go ahead and pivot. All right, we're going to give a little listener love this week. Just a quick shout out to all the listeners giving us comments on our YouTube channel. It's really, really good for us to get the feedback, B, keep the conversation going, and it helps us understand what you guys are reacting to and what you're not. So let's give a few shout outs and talk about a few comments. Now, number one, Josh posted the UCF versus Sam Houston score prediction from Sam Houston fans, I really love it when Josh does this, because when we're playing at home, he always tries to tag at least a fan. And this poor kid, he looked like he was like 12 years old, and his grandpa were there, and he had his score prediction. And Jacob Sibley says, Lil Bro could not have been further off. 100% true. And you felt like grandpa was just trying to support the kid. It feels very much like when we were in Conference USA. So shout out to Jacob Sibley. RGUA Piri, Guapiri. I'm going to go with that. He said, I wish UCF would get some real uniforms instead of that ugly, dull, boring black they keep wearing. Well, you got all white, fresh and cleans this week, so let us know what you think about that. Pitstoner 1974 says that Ben says like way too often. So there you go, Ben. There's a little feedback for you there. Pitstoner also says they ran for over 100 yards against Stanford, but one of you said they can't run because O-line isn't good enough. Very odd opinion. Gave him our thought process behind that. And that was basically their line didn't play great in those games, 3.3 yards per carry against Stanford. And they also only averaged 3.4 against LIU. And they only averaged 3.4 against us for 58 yards. So it looks like that was a good read. And then Josh posted his immediate reaction on UCF beating TCU on the road. This was post Waffle House Josh. He did post a live. We do have some things to work out on that. We're going to probably put that through StreamYard so that folks can interact. But he says on the R Guapiri says on the road quotes means nothing in American sports nowadays. I tend to disagree. I responded to the comment. I tend to disagree with that. One, it still messes with your schedule. You don't get as much time on your at home, like doing film study, etc. When you're traveling. And number two, clearly TCU early on, the fans were loud, although Fox kind of drones out the fan sound, which drives you nuts, and the bands, which drives you nuts. But there is an advantage for home field advantage when you have a sold out crowd, and TCU was sold out. So, I still think that we do have an advantage in football. The home team does have an advantage in football. So that being said, thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for subscribing, for listening, for commenting, and all of the tings. We appreciate you very, very much. All right. Let's go ahead and pivot again. All right, pivoting again. Alan, do you have an oxymoronic stat of the week? I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask.
Of course I do.
What? That's not what the notes say. All right. Alan,
they always say no.
Oxymoronic stat of the week. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, we have to erase. That was from like off season when there was nothing to talk about.
Okay.
It's the season. All right. So RJ Harvey, we know, is on a pretty historic run right now. We all kind of unanimously agree that he's going to be the second best quarterback second best running back in UCF history.
Behind Kevin quarterback on the team. I don't know what's going on with.
Oh, that's true too. He could be the second best quarterback on the team, but second best running back in school history after, of course, Kevin Smith. So started to look at the statistics. So obviously, after this past game against TCU, RJ has moved into number 4 all time in touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, and number 4 all time in rushing yards. He's pretty close to number 3 in both categories, a little far off of number 2, but something, if he continues on this pace, he should get there. But the real question is, can he get to number 1 in touchdowns all time? Now, yards is going to be unattainable. You'd have to average 222 yards per game for the rest of the season in order to topple Kevin Smith.
I mean, if he was in Conference USA, he might be able to do it.
That's true, but it's not going to happen in the Big 12. But touchdowns is interesting. So he is at 29 touchdowns. Kevin Smith is at 45. Now, RJ right now is averaging 2.6 touchdowns per game through 3 games. So if he continues that, he would actually end up with 47 touchdowns career-wise, which would surpass Kevin Smith by 2 touchdowns, and he'd be the number 1 rushing touchdown in all of UCF history. It could happen. So it's interesting to see. So when you talk about Kevin Smith's historic season in 2007, I looked at the first 3 games because we've had 3 games this season so far. The first 3 games, Kevin Smith had 490 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 5.8 yards per carry. RJ is at 448, so not far behind, at 8 touchdowns, so he's actually at 1 more, and averaging 7.6 yards per carry. That's because Kevin Smith averaged 28 carries per game, and RJ's only at 19 carries per game. So he's actually being way more efficient than 24K was back then. So, and then it is interesting to note, though, RJ, has played these first 3 games haven't been great. Kevin Smith's first 3 games were against NC State, Texas, and Memphis. So 3 pretty good opponents there, and he still had those numbers. Yeah, so interesting to see. But I think before the season, we all thought that, Kevin Smith's 45 touchdown career would be uncatchable. But with RJ averaging pretty much 2 touchdowns a game, it is possibly attainable.
I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to do it. I think Gus is going to try to make him. I think Gus is going to. I just looked at the schedule, because when we get to like the 2-yard line, it's Wildcat RJ Harvey 1,000%. He's going to steal. Yeah, he's going to steal at least 1 a game just from that. And then you get, I don't know. I think he's going to do it. I think he
averaged 222 yards per game to get to.
That's unattainable.
That's not a smart goal, Alan, as we like to talk about. That's not a smart
That is not a smart goal.
I think
if he had 1 more season on top of it, he would beat it. But
he would. Yeah. So I think the touchdowns, though, I think he's going to get it. I think he'll like 46. I think once he gets close to it, Gus is going to be like, just get him the ball. Let's break this record.
Yeah, just feed him the ball.
I don't feel like mathing right now, Alan. So was that 2.6 and you carried it out throughout the rest of the season? Was that including like assumptions on a bowl game or
that was not. I only included 9 guaranteed games left.
Yeah, so we've got some extra games in there. So yeah, that to Trey's point, that might actually
we're halfway to a bowl game, people.
Yeah.
That's true. So with the bowl game and potentially a conference championship and potentially a playoff run.
Let's go.
Hey, I'm still upset that we're not going to have the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I'm just going to put that out there. Because I really, I want a reason to go buy a Pop-Tart. Yeah. And 2, that's just the coolest thing ever.
And they knocked out of the park there.
Yeah, it's much better than being covered in a bucket of mayonnaise. So let's just put it that way. All right, Josh, let's go ahead and pivot. Oh my gosh, that was weak. Do it again. Pivot. Oh my God, you guys are terrible. Terrible.
Okay.
Terrible.
All right, so Josh's sometimes funny fact of the week. Josh, take it away.
I should do that in Charles Barkley voice after the terrible. All right, so
terrible.
I'm going to start with the question, give you some notes, do the question again. How many times has UCF won 2 games versus a power conference? Well, the Power 5, whatever you want to call it, right? Going all the way back. And its history in the first 4 games of the season. So, until last year, UCF has had scheduled multiple power conference teams during its non-conference schedule to boost up the things needed to get into good bowl games. UCF currently has 1 win versus P4 competition now that we're in a P4 conference. So, again, how many times has UCF won 2 games against power conference teams in its history within the first 4 games of a season?
That year they beat Stanford and Georgia Tech. That was 1 year, right?
2018.
No, hold on.
I'm going to say never. Never. I don't think we've ever done that.
I thought we've
in the first 4 games. I'd say
first
never.
4. What was the year we beat Stanford?
That
was
was
2019,
wasn't it?
and we lost to Pitt that year, so that was not it.
Ooh.
2017, we only beat Georgia Tech in the first four. 2018, we beat Pitt, and I don't even know if that was in the first four. That might have been, it's probably in the first four.
Yeah, it was.
But that wasn't too. I think never. I'm going with never. Wait, 2013, we beat Penn
Lost to
State.
South Carolina though.
We lost to
Louisville.
We beat Penn
That wasn't
State.
the first
No, it wasn't
four,
the
was
first
it?
four. It wasn't the first four. Penn State was in
yeah.
the first. Louisville was like in conference play.
Well,
I think never.
I covered myself because I said 3, and then I have a 0 here. So no matter what, I'm good.
I'm
So we
going
got
never.
I'm gonna say
3-0,
one. I'm
never.
gonna say that's
Well,
happened once.
I'm gonna
I'm
go
going never.
twice.
0.
Twice.
All right, Josh, what's the answer?
The only real winner is Alan because he can't hedge, Roger. We have never done that.
I can.
Wow.
Never. No okays. No, we have never done that. It's always been one and then like a 1-point Pitt loss or like you were talking back to 2013. It's like we went up to Penn State. We all remember that game. And if you're a younger listener, go back and watch that game. That was fun.
Josh Reese.
Oh, and then we owe the third quarter of that South Carolina game at home, man. It was just that third quarter. We dominated South Carolina for 3 of that four quarters in 2013. Nope, never done it. And our first shot is, of course, against Colorado.
It'll happen.
Let's do it.
That streak. I'm gonna hot take that. That streak changes this year. We beat Colorado 100% of the time. I know that's a hot take saying 100% of the time, but
Have you
They're
seen
hot
Colorado?
garbage.
I
seen
think they're hot
Colorado?
garbage too.
They are
If
hot
they beat us,
garbage.
that's a hot take.
Yeah, I think they're green Colorado. So we'll
That
put
should
that
be like
out
an
there.
18 to 21 point spread, in my opinion. I think they're so bad.
That's
They
They're
have
fine.
two
going to
players.
score, but they can't do anything else besides get
They
the
have
ball.
2 players. Yeah.
They'll only score if
even
we
think-
allow them to score because they can't stop the running game. So the time of possession will be all ours. All right.
Their
Let's
best
go
running
ahead.
back had 65 yards on the season.
Yeah, let's go
do that
ahead and
update real quick and
let's
pivot.
pivot. Oh,
right.
wow. Wait, this is getting worse. How
Well,
is this
I
getting
heard
worse?
Josh-
You
I
guys
heard
should be
Josh
getting
say it,
better.
sir.
I'm trying to
All the way
go
to
right
final.
onto it. Right
I
onto
know.
it. We're gonna
I know what
pivot.
you're trying to do, but that's why I'm the host of the show. So
I know, but you're
Pivot.
taking too much time.
pivot. It wouldn't be if you just said pivot. All right. So we got
Pivot.
one. All right.
Pivot.
Let's go ahead and pivot to Josh
Pivot.
with his quick
Pivot.
update on other UCF sports that Alan does not watch. Go ahead,
But
Josh.
Alan put them in the show notes.
Exactly.
You did a great job this time. So awesome. We do appreciate that. By we, I mean me. UCF women's soccer, we beat Houston 5-0. And we play Iowa State next. The men's soccer team lost to FIU, and FIU is a solid team. Lost to FIU 4-3, tied with that other Cal College next door 0-0.
The
Mason
directionally
Left,
challenged school from West
Yes,
Central
yeah. And we
Florida. That's
play-
the correct way to say that.
Yeah. We put. I'm assuming James Madison because that's why I fully pull out JMU. I'm assuming it's James Madison University.
James
Yes,
Madison.
it is.
Yeah. I just want to make sure, but that's why I spell things out. I like good copy. And the women's volleyball team beat FAU 3-2, and they were down 0-2 and won 3 sets in a row. Unfortunately, lost to a ranked FSU 3-1. That was their first loss of the season, and they play Nevada next.
All right. So, Josh, other than the subtle jabs at not so subtle jabs, actually, at Alan, thank you for that update. And thank you, Alan, for putting those notes in.
Yeah.
So, that being said, hey, Night Nation, what can I say about last week? It was great to be on the winning end of that, right?
Yes.
The other thing is, I think this team is different in the sense that they've got the right attitude. I think the whole why conversation and making sure that they did the things in the off season to be prepared from a strength and conditioning standpoint are definitely going to be positives. And I do agree that this game is something that will stick in everybody's minds and make sure that they understand that no matter what happens, you strain, you do the extra, and you win. So it was a great time, a lot of celebration. I did not fall asleep till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Because I was legitimately that excited. Obviously, Josh was. Go ahead and check out the stream that he put out there. And next week, we will not have a stream because there's a bye week. But the following week for Colorado, we definitely will have another stream. Thank you so much for your support. Keep it coming. Thank you for the comments. We appreciate everything that you're doing to our new followers. I am sorry, but for whatever reason, YouTube doesn't show all of our new followers in a timely fashion. So I know that there were several of you on YouTube and on our other channels that followed. I will call you out when you show up on their reporting. We appreciate everything you do. And I'm going to say this week because I screwed it up last week. Go Knights and
charge on.
Let's go, baby.
So if I don't get cut off, I'll tell you exactly what that kid said before I put that short out.